Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? What's up, folks? Today is Friday, May 30th, 2025. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. A deadly shooting on South Carolina's Ocean Boulevard leaves 11 people injured, including teens, and one person dead. Community leaders question whether the dead suspect shot the 11 people before police killed him. Tonight, we'll talk with an activist who is demanding answers. The twice-impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief Donald Trump moves to end a program that's helped black business entrepreneurs and others for a very long time. This $37 billion program under the Department of Transportation is in trouble because Trump's white nationalists say, oh, it discriminates against the people that get 90% of the federal contracts. Really? Is that what we're doing? Also, on today's show, young black conservative who came on my show a couple of years ago, building a school in Georgia, he's now mad and upset that a job program in his Georgia town has now been wiped out. He's demanding local and state leaders replace the money to save the jobs, and he's demanding that if they don't do it, we get new leadership. But he was the same one who was skinning and grinning at Trump's Black History Month reception. Guess who cut the money? Donald Trump. Oh, y'all know I got a few words to say about this. Also, what are the future of charter schools in this country? The Trump folks are very supportive of it. You got school choice passed in Texas, which really is a scam. We're going to talk, though, about this from an African-American point of view with the CEO of the National Charter Collaborative. So we look forward to that in our Education Matters segment. And I told y'all, I was watching the History Channel. They were talking about Texas independence. All this conversation, literally no mention that slavery was the dominant reason for Texas independence. So why is the History Channel pushing a docuseries that doesn't tell the truth about history? I'm gonna talk to renowned historian Gerald Horne, who wrote a book about Texas independence called The Counter-Revolution of 1836. Folks, it's gonna be a hot show. Y'all better buckle the hell up, because it's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Weeks after a chaotic night erupted in gunfire along Myrtle Beach's busiest strip, leaving one person dead, 11 injured, a shaken community continues to demand answers like whose bullet injured several people, the suspect or the cops. Newly released dashcam video from Myrtle Beach Police shows the deadly officer-involved shooting that unfolded just after midnight on April 26 along the popular Ocean Boulevard, when 18-year-old Jarius Davis pulls out a gun, fires 4 shots into a crowd gathered on the sidewalk. Within seconds, Officer Brandon O'Rourke returns fire, firing 5 rounds and fatally striking Davis. The 3 officers involved were placed on paid administrative leave per policy. Brandon O'Rourke, 7 years on the cop, Muhammad El Helwi, 2 years as a cop, and Jeremiah Johnson, 4 years on the force. All have since returned to duty as they continue their investigation with a final report expected by June 26. Joining us right now is John Barnett, who is a civil rights activist who is also demanding accountability, plus 15-year-old Serenity Chavis, who was shot in the leg that night and is speaking about what happened along with her mother, Kendra Malloy. Glad to have all 3 of you here. So first of all, John, I want to start with you. This is where I am. So you have this shooting. What ballistics report has been done? So are you and others suggesting that the people who were injured, they were all not injured as a result of this shooter.
That's correct. That's correct, Roland Martin. And again, thank you for having us on your show again. Yeah, this is spring break, average age 12 to 17. Apparently, 18-year-old had some beef or some words with some other young Afro-American males, and he pulled out his gun. Police stated that he began to shoot. There was 2 or 3 officers behind him, and they began to shoot at him. And unfortunately, 11 people were shot. My law office, Hunter and Everett, in Charlotte, I'm not a lawyer, I'm an activist, they accepted 3 of the cases. So there were multiple people shot. Serenity is one. She's 15 years old. She now is in a wheelchair. She's going back and forth with the crutches. She lives in Laurinburg, North Carolina. She doesn't even live in Myrtle Beach. The other family is Miss Patricia. Her son is named Xavion. He's 13 years old. He was shot 3 times. He was walking with his dad in front of his dad. His dad also got grazed by a bullet as well. Xavion bullet was removed, and the bullet was immediately taken to SLED in South Carolina. And the bullet in his arm, they cannot take it out, Mr. Martin. They actually said that if you remove it, it may mess up a nerve. So you got a 13-year-old kid from Martinsville, Virginia, who has a bullet in his body right now because I think of some carelessness of the cops. And I understand they needed to disarm the individual or take him down, but just shooting in a crowd of, spring break, average age 12 to 17, is just a lot. So we've been asked for answers. I asked for 4 things real quickly. I asked for the officers to be unpaid leave because I think there's some carelessness going on, and that's why they're so quiet. This happened April 26th. I asked for counseling for the 11 victims. 11 people were shot when they aspired to go to Myrtle Beach for funnel cake and ride some amusement, ride the rides of the amusement park and enjoy the water. And they came back home with bullets in their bodies. Second thing we asked for was a meeting with the chief of police. She entertained it. Then she kind of going back and forth. And now SLED's involved. So SLED wanted to meet with me, and they declined to do that.
So first of all, what is SLED? People don't know what is SLED.
Oh yeah, sorry. It's a special unit. It's like the SBI.
Got it.
SLED. Yeah. A lot of people don't know what that is. North Carolina, we got the SBI. Georgia got the Georgia Investigative Services, and there's SLED. So that's a higher department that's supposed to investigate officer-involved shootings in particular. And the 2 of the things I asked for was, I asked for counseling, I asked for unpaid leave, asked for a meeting with the chief, and for the body cam to be released. So after 33 days, they had this big climax. They're going to release the video yesterday, and only showed a small video from the body cam, not the body cam, from the dash cam of the car. So in Myrtle Beach is a very popular spot, one of the most richest counties in South Carolina. It's probably the only tourist attraction in South Carolina because nobody goes to South Carolina pretty much for anything, even though I'm from there. They have about 2,000 cameras downtown, Mr. Martin. They have Marriotts and they have coffee shops. And it's like literally, the reporter told me they have 2,000 cameras down there. So to just release just one and not show us what we asked for was the body cam, which is the officers shooting in the crowd. We have yet to get that. And we know that that young man, before he was taken down, may he rest in peace, 18 years old, we know that he didn't shoot all 11 people. And those are the answers we're trying to get. And if they're responsible for that, then they need to just say that. And I think prolonging it is not a good thing. I told them today as I close, I can't go to NASCAR and shoot 11 white people and think I'm going to go home. I'll be in jail right now, especially if the kids are 13 and 15 years old. I really believe I'd be in jail right now. And that's a fact.
Serenity, that obviously had to be a shocking, stunning night. Here you are just trying to enjoy a night out. The next thing you know, you're in the hospital.
Yes, sir.
So what do you recall happening that night?
All I remember is me just standing there trying to go into, it was like a pizza place, and they sell ice cream there too. And I remember me trying to go in there, but the man closed the door in my face, so that he was like closing the shop down. And I know I just turned my back to go, like going towards all the hotels, and I just hear gunshots, and I just start running, and I just hit like a strong wind, just hit the back of my leg, but I'm still trying to run. And then I just look down and I just see a pile of blood everywhere. And I just drop and I start screaming for help. and the officers came. There was the one that shot me stood in front of me and told me that he was sorry, and then that's when they started putting like the tourniquet thing on me, and they took me to the hospital, and that's it. That was it.
Again, so the fact that you don't know who shot you, was it the suspect, was it the cops, has to be unsettling. This is a fear that a lot of people have, cops indiscriminately firing that and then hitting other people and not the person.
That's correct. That's correct.
How are you? Are you still suffering from injuries, or are you completely healed from the shooting?
Not yet. I'm still on crutches.
Still on crutches. Still on crutches.
Yes, sir.
We certainly hate to have to hear that, and hopefully y'all are able to get some answers real soon from this, because that has to be traumatic for anybody to have to go through and endure. Mm-hmm. John, final question. Have they given y'all a sense of when they're going to wrap this up?
Yeah, I told them it's going to take 60 days, 90 days. They told us within 60. Today is like the 34th day. Still no counselors, therapists for the victims. A partially released video. I did, and what's interesting is that 2 days ago, I staged a press conference, and I said I wanted unpaid leave. I don't want these guys sitting on the beach relaxing for 35, 34 days. And ironically enough, just yesterday, all 3 officers have returned, literally 48 hours after our press conference. So now they're back at work, business as usual. And so we're going to, stay on their backs and get some answers. But hopefully within the next 30 days, we should have something. But in the process of that, Trinity has to go, graduate with crutches. Xavion is in Martinsville, Virginia. He's got a bullet in his body. These kids got to graduate. And one of them that's very sad, I've been in conversation with one mother named Christy, I believe her name is, and she said her son was shot and he had a full scholarship. I think he was shot in his side. So it's very, very traumatic experience for all of them. Something they'll never forget.
Indeed, indeed. All right, folks, we certainly appreciate it. And let us know what happens next.
Sure will, sure will.
Thank you.
And Mr. Martin, I want to let you know, I'm enjoying your book that you autographed for us. So I want to make sure I tell you that. I'm enjoying your book.
I certainly appreciate that. Thanks a bunch.
All right, thank you. Have a great day.
Folks, let's talk about a case out of North Carolina. Attorney Ben Crump, Bakari Sellers, and others involved with that, where you had a black man who was shot and killed, Tyrone Mason. He died in a car crash. Now, what's crazy is that the DA is not trying to bring charges against the officers. And so this is a story right here that is from the Spectrum Local News. Go to my iPad. And so it says that Mason's mother and others gathered, this took place yesterday. They gathered there. They want justice. The investigation revealed that 2 Highway Patrol state troopers lied about some of the circumstances involving the chase and the deadly crash. The DA decided not to charge the 2 troopers. They are on administrative leave. But here's what's crazy. First of all, again, it says here, Freeman decided not to charge the 2 troopers who remain on administrative leave while the investigation is ongoing and dropped more than 100 cases involving them. That's weird. Crump and Sellers are calling for the firing of the 2 officers. And again, this man died October 7th in a single car wreck. What's crazy is that the officers were caught on camera trying to figure out how to lie about it. It says here, Macario called in the crash after he said he drove up on it, but investigators found that Macario initially was not truthful with responding officers. They said Macario had tried to pull Mason over for speeding, but Mason accelerated and fled. Macario initially gave chase, but then gave up pursuit. They said Macario's supervisor, Morrison, advised Macario not to tell officers that he had tried to pull Mason over, saying the crash, quote, sounds like Raleigh's problem. Last Friday, some body camera video was released that shows Macario talking to Raleigh police about the crash and not revealing that he had been chasing Mason for speeding along Capitol Boulevard. Isn't that something? Folks, how many times have we seen this where cops will be sitting here lying, and then nothing happens? Michael Imhotep joins us, host African History Network show out of Detroit. Matt Manning, civil rights attorney out of Corpus Christi. And we also have Belinda Hale, actress and creator, Black Voices Heard Project out of LA. So this is the thing for me, Matt, that really pisses me off. And I'm just a firm believer in this. I don't care what anybody says. I do not care what the investigation is. I don't care if someone was injured, if it was a misdemeanor, if it was a felony, if someone was a shooting, car crash, someone dies. If a cop lies, I believe that should mean immediate and automatic termination.
Yeah, but beyond that, I mean, look, they say the grand jury can indict a ham sandwich, right? It's very easy to get an indictment. And in fact, I met someone today who sat on a grand jury that I presented to. I didn't remember him from that context, but he mentioned to me he'd sat on the grand jury, meaning, people present to grand juries all the time, and they explain to them the way it works is the prosecutor goes in and the state is the only entity that has the right to present to the grand jurors. I tell you that because what I don't understand about this case is how they not only didn't terminate these guys, but how they didn't go in and charge them with the equivalent of, false statement to law enforcement, or it would be not really be perjury, most likely because it wasn't in the court context, but any kind of dishonesty crime. That's why you have these crimes on the books. And, what's interesting in this case is normally you see a prosecutor who's reticent to charge a police officer where they have used deadly force or they've used force, right? Because they always lean on the idea that it was quickly evolving. Maybe the officer had some reason that, he or she readily believed that somebody was facing them with force. This is not that circumstance. This is, if you tell the truth, you most likely just get in trouble for an internal policy violation where your police department says, we don't give chase, or we don't give chase after they reach a certain point, and then Raleigh takes over. And at best, at worst, really, what you're getting is you're getting disciplined for potentially not having followed your department policy. But instead, what you've done is lie. And I don't understand how this prosecutor is not getting a lot more flack, because this is the case where it is easiest to hold law enforcement accountable. It doesn't require you having some big political, profile and courage. It just requires you to say, you said X, and that's easily provable to not be true. And because you're law enforcement, we hold you to a higher standard. We're therefore going to charge you with false reports of law enforcement or obstruction of justice or something in that vein. So I think that's the real tragedy here. And dropping the charges, a lot of your viewers may not know this, but often when a police officer is found to be dishonest, the prosecutor will do that. They will no longer take his or her cases because they're no longer a credible witness. But the failing, I think, here is not going a step further and showing the community that you're going to hold an officer accountable when he lies in a material way. He lied about something that led to this charge, or rather this chase where this gentleman died. And all he has to do is tell the truth. And at worst, he's in trouble for a policy violation. So I don't understand how the prosecutor did not think this was the perfect case to charge them for being dishonest, where they were easily able to disprove it.
Melinda, it's no shock to me because a lot of DAs, they don't like to charge cops because they need cops for their other cases. This is the fundamental problem that we see with local DAs. And then the problem is, now that you got this idiot in the Oval Office, they don't give a damn about holding cops accountable on the federal level.
Right. And as you said before, we've seen cases like this before where cops try to fabricate situations to justify their actions. And as you also just said, I was going to mention, Trump administration has already talked about giving police officers full immunity for quote unquote doing their job. And so it does come into question, when is accountability going to be a part of the conversation? Is honesty a part of the job description at all anymore? So I'm not, unfortunately, surprised by this. It just makes me wonder how many more times we're going to see this.
Michael, Michael?
Yeah, this is a very disturbing case when you look at this. I looked at the article from Spectrum News, the 180 cases involving this officer Macario were dropped by the prosecutor. So that right there, that is another investigation should follow that. And then also his supervisor, from the same article, it said the supervisor, Macario's supervisor, advised Macario not to tell officers that he had tried to pull Mason over, saying the crash sounds like Riley's problem. So to me, that sounds like withholding evidence at the same time.
Right.
So this is mind-boggling, but I'm glad Benjamin Crump is on this case exposing this. And this is in the era of Trump saying he's going to unleash the police, which was a campaign promise. He said that in April 2024 in Wisconsin on the campaign trail. Okay, and his Department of Justice, when they're backing out of consent decrees with Louisville and another jurisdiction, this is opening the floodgates for police to think they can do whatever they want and get away with it.
Oh, that's exactly what it is. And so, I mean, folks, this is why we do these stories. They need attention. Unfortunately, you don't see a lot of this. And we saw what happened with Ronald Green, Louisiana, when those state troopers lied about what happened to him. They claim he died in a car crash when they actually viciously beat him to death. And you have not seen justice served in that case as well. So that's exactly what we're dealing with here. All right, folks, got to go to break. We come back. Education Matters segment. We're going to talk about the future of charter schools, specifically as it relates to African Americans. And we'll talk about that. Plus, a black conservative in Georgia was skinning and grinning along with the other members of the Help at Trump's Black History Month reception, is now angry about a jobs program being shut down. Who shut that down? Trump. Why he ain't saying nothing about Trump? Ooh. Yeah, I got something to say. It's time to bring, we'll be right back, Roland Martin, on Filter on the Black Star Network.
This week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, we're talking all things faith, family, and fatherhood. Men step in and out of our lives in a variety of ways as fathers, uncles, cousins, and different ways in which we enjoy their company and presence, and in other ways when they get on our nerves. This week on our show, we'll be talking about what it means to be a father, how women can support the men in their lives, as well as how do we heal the wounds that we've had from poor conversation, lack of desire, and all of the other ways that we sometimes as women check out and cause our men to feel emasculated. That's all this week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
This is Tamala Mann.
And this is David Mann. And you're watching Roland Martin
Unfiltered.
Folks, in Oklahoma, they tried to launch a religious charter school. Well, the Supreme Court voted 4-4. As a result, that cannot move forward. Justice Amy Coney Barrett recused herself because she had a close relationship with someone who was involved in that. As a result, that as folks, again, talking about the future of charter schools, you have an administration that claims they support school choice. You've got Republicans in Texas who just pushed through a massive so-called school choice bill that I actually call a scam bill. And we're seeing this, and there are lots of issues that are around charter schools, the effectiveness of them, but also the impact for African Americans. Naomi Shelton is the CEO of the National Charter Collaborative. Glad to have her here. So Naomi, first and foremost, the thing here is that religious charter schools, look, that violates the separation of church and state. But the reality, this is a 4-4 decision. If somebody in another state decides to open a religious charter school, that's going to get sued. It's going to go up, and Amy Coney Barrett won't have to actually recuse herself. Do you predict that that in the future with this Supreme Court, that they may very well allow public tax dollars to be used to launch very explicit religious charter schools?
Do I believe it's possible? Yes. Is that my hope? Of course not. I think we are all concerned about what happens when these cases continue to jump back and forth from different states. But I think it's also important for us to know that this is a great time to unify around talking about public education to a broader audience. So it is a possibility. Yes, we know that they are not going to stop, but it's about how we plan to address those issues when they come back.
Again, there are, when this issue comes up, there are a lot of people who are very emotional about this. I've made it clear as somebody who launched School Choice is a Black choice that if there is an education system that is set up that allows for us to completely control the schools, control the contracts, control the curriculum, I'm actually down for that. The issue that I have is when people want to pimp school choice to get Black people to support it, when in fact it is a detriment to Black people, and they don't actually support Black people actually controlling the education of our children.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. We've had these conversations before, but I think it's important that we understand that the federal protections that come along with public education would be completely lost. So the most vulnerable learners, students with disabilities, and we know all the challenges that come along with that for Black families when it comes to serving students who need IEPs, et cetera. What I do know to be true is that it is a possibility, but of course, if we have the ability to control that, that makes all the difference. One of the things that colleagues and I are now talking about is what does it look like to have a resurgence of K-12 schools in partnership with HBCUs. And so thinking through what does it look like to have an HBCU create its own charter school that serves no differently than a lab school or a day school that used to be on those campuses. That opportunity goes as far as how do we make sure that it's possible for HBCUs to become authorizers of charter schools. And so having that double layer of focus when it comes to educational equity, but also excellence means that there are tons of opportunities that are right around the corner.
And so how now, I know Howard University had a relationship with a charter school. Are there any other HBCUs that do?
Oh, absolutely. University of Delaware, there's a school that is going to be opening this fall. It's Stillman College. So there are tons of opportunities for us to see what's possible. And I think it's important to just share more about what the schools that are working with HBCUs, what they are able to do. So those are not only pipelines for students, but it's also pipelines for teachers. How do we have teacher prep programs that are embedded in those schools? Here in DC, more than half the students attend public charter schools, and those schools offer anything from Montessori to dual language and justice-centered models. But what we want to make sure is that if we are going to control anything related to education in the K-12 space, that we are actually in control of that, from the application, even the approval of that application. Having Black folks and having HBCUs at the table would definitely add tremendous value.
Let's questions from our panel. I will start with Melinda first.
Yeah, can you explain a little bit about how charter schools would directly take funds from public schools when it comes to school choice, just for people that may not understand how that works?
Sure. So I'll just clarify a few things. So it is a widely known myth that charter schools are not public schools. Charter schools are public schools in all of the 45 states where they are legal, including the District of Columbia. The funding is very similar to the ways that schools in traditional districts receive funds. So those funds are allocated by student population, and those come from local and state and some federal dollars.
Thank you.
Matt?
Yeah, so my question is about the equity of opportunity to get into charter schools. So I know some schools have different lottery procedures or different procedures where the students are actually admitted. What are your thoughts about the current climate we're in and how that might affect Black access to charter schools?
So just to clarify further, because I know that these are all misconceptions, charter schools have to follow open enrollment laws. And so they can't turn students away based on test scores or background. They're free, public, and open to all. But we should also remember that there are schools that students and or parents would choose because of the curriculum that they offer, because of the special programs. And so having the ability to select those different public school options makes it easier for parents where charter schools are available to choose the programs that work best for their students. What I know for sure, and I can say this as a former authorizer here in the district, is that we hold people accountable. If you are excluding students because of disabilities, if there are issues around race and equity, those are things that either that school's direct board or the charter board or the authorizer in that jurisdiction can manage.
Michael.
All right, Naomi, can you explain the difference between charter schools and independent schools? The reason why I ask, here in Detroit in the late 80s, early 90s, we saw African-centered charter schools that were created, and a lot of them don't exist today. And you had this debate between whether we should do charter schools or independent schools.
So, of course, with independent schools, that funding formula is very different. A lot of that is philanthropic dollars and other ways that they find funds, where traditional districts receive funds and public charter schools receive funds directly from the state and locale. That being different, there are also other supports or other things that come along with a charter school versus an independent school, be it the type of accreditation, et cetera. All of those things impact what's possible there. But when it comes to charter schools, what I have appreciated about this space is the ability to have folks dream up the possibilities. Like you said, having an Afro-centered school, having a social justice focused school, having a school that's thinking about the arts, humanities, those are things that we can build for ourselves.
Okay, thank you.
Are you seeing in this climate, are we seeing, I mean, obviously, when it comes to the notion of school choice, you have far more Republicans that are believing in that. But again, they want it for a different reason. For me, I believe many of them want it for white suburban parents. They want to open those floodgates for them to go to private schools. And we also know that those private schools, they're not increasing the seats. And so the people we know from Arizona, the people that have taken advantage of these programs are people who are already sending their kids to private school. But are you seeing African Americans see this as an opportunity for us to be able, like, if the system is going to get, if it's going to get put in place, are you seeing black folks say, okay, fine, now let's step in and let's control the education for our kids?
So I would say yes. Alabama has a very excited community that is building and growing there. That groundswell around starting schools with HBCUs, but also watching other Black people create schools and be successful. I believe in the last 7 or 10 years that Alabama's had the law to approve charter schools. I would say more than 80% of those schools are homegrown and or founded by someone Black. So there's always an opportunity. People see the chance to do this. If they see someone do it successfully, that increases that chance. But what I do want to point out is that everything right now just feels like it's in limbo because of where the administration is. We received an increase in the charter school program, which is the federal funding that goes towards charter schools, their incubation, et cetera. But that money being on the table doesn't matter if it doesn't get to Black people because of whatever is happening at the state level. And of course, too, if people are saying, I'm nervous because of the political state in my hometown, if they're worried about what that looks like, not only the backlash and being aligned with the GOP, but also what people's perceptions are about the charter space. So it's almost like we're seeing a push and pull because of the current climate. But I know of at least 4 schools in the South that are in discussion and or planning to open in the South.
The issue that I have with what's happening in Alabama is that the people who are in support of school choice and charters spent a lot of money trying to get that law changed, and then they left. they abandoned the state. And I've held town halls there. We held town halls in Montgomery, in Birmingham, in Selma. And again, the fact that that law has now been passed for several years and only 2 schools have been launched, that to me is a problem. And so are you seeing the charter school movement, these various funders, these organizations, are you seeing them put an emphasis on the state to be able to walk people through the process, be able to help them with their applications, help them with their curriculum and their governing, things along those lines? That to me, I saw that firsthand, and that actually pissed me off.
No, so I want to clarify that Alabama now has, I believe, 18 schools, and that's just in that short window of time. What I am seeing is an interest from philanthropy. I know that I've been in conversations with some philanthropic partners that are putting money into this space, but also recognizing that there are other issues that we have to address in public education in terms of where NAEP scores were, et cetera. So there's that on the philanthropic side. And then what's happening in Alabama. Alabama is also an example of where incubation is a part of what that charter school organization, the charter support organization there. So New Schools for Alabama is focused on not only the support of the existing schools, but anyone that is looking to incubate an opportunity. That in and of itself, and what is happening with HBCUs there is happening because of that charter support organization. We have the same thing, and it looks a little different, but here in DC, we also have folks that work on incubation of schools, and what does it look like to continue that support beyond that. Organizations like mine, the National Charter Collaborative, also support single site charter leaders of color. We work directly with small networks, anything less than 5 schools, to not only think about building community for them, but also the capacity of those leaders to sustain themselves, which then gives, again, people the opportunity to see that that is happening and that is something that they can also pursue.
Question, I have been asking this question for years and nobody can seem to give me an answer. How many black, not black run, how many black controlled charter schools are there in America, and what state has the most?
So I would say data-wise, because of revocations, et cetera, this number is probably going to change. But in terms of Black, Brown, and Indigenous-led schools, there are more. I know.
No, I don't want to know brown. I don't want to know indigenous. I want to know black.
Black. So there are 75% of the schools that are led by people of color are led by Black people. So I could do the math for you, but I was an English major. So I'll say overwhelmingly the number of schools, which is in the high 500s, 75% of those are run by Black people.
Now, okay. Now, again, this is where when you say run by Black people, what I'm talking about are Black people controlling the school.
I would say an overwhelming number of those schools are also Black controlled. You could see Friendship Public Charter Schools here in DC. The schools that I named in the South, I know Clarksdale Prep, which is in the Delta of Mississippi. That school is Black run. And a lot of these schools are not only Black run, but run by HBCU graduates. You see that their boards consist overwhelmingly of Black people. So yes, they do exist. I will actually get those numbers for you.
Yeah, and the reason I think it's important to get those numbers is because that's also a part of this whole piece, because what I believe you have to model. And so I have traveled this country dealing with this. I've been to Sacramento, I've been to Tulsa, I've been to Houston, been to Dallas, been to Alabama, we've been to Georgia, we've been to Philadelphia, we've been to Florida, we've been to all different places.
Indianapolis.
And Indianapolis. And the problem that I see, and I say this all the time, that one of the reasons charter schools fail is because they fail from the outset. They fail with weak governance, they fail with weak financial controls, they fail with weak curriculum, and they fail with weak leadership. And so I've always believed that what needs to happen is you need to have individual people and institutions that this is what they do. They know how to say from the outset How do we ensure from the beginning that you have a strong program, a strong foundation to be able to build from, and then they need to be able to look to existing schools, high-performing schools, high-performing charter networks to know how to model. So if you're looking for a black male successful school, then I believe your organization will be able to say, okay, go here, here, here. And then also, when we talk about the funding issue, that's an issue for me, is that a lot of these funders want to keep funding high-performing schools, which I get. Well, the problem is a low-performing school never goes to a mid, and a mid never goes to a high because they're being starved financially. And so talk about that. What are you saying to funders, and let's be real clear, 99% are white, that look, if you truly believe in charter schools, then you have to put in the resources to get a school to go from low to mid and then mid to high. It can't just be keep funding only the high-performing schools.
So having been on multiple sides of this equation, so again, I was an authorizer here in DC. So of course was able to review applications, visit schools, talk to folks interested in developing schools. But there are a ton of things that are wrapped around that. I've also worked for a large charter network, one of the largest in the country. And one of the reasons that I do the work that I do now is because I had been at the authorizer seat to see what happens when you don't support schools, when schools don't have a strong start, and making sure that if they aren't able to get their feet under them, what organizations we need to connect them with? So my organization was founded in 2016 because of the very thing you're talking about. Disproportionately, Black schools and Brown-run schools are the ones that are closed. And usually those are schools that are single site or community-driven schools. So there are incubation programs, of course, but my organization also has a fellowship that allows for folks that are pretty much siloed in their city, state, or region, and connecting them with other leaders. So 9 other leaders, a total of 10 leaders, having the opportunity to share best practice, to do communities of practice, and think about what are the professional development needs that they have, and evolving that over time. We also do make those direct connections with schools because of the work I've done on the authorizer side and now on the support side, having folks reach out to me to say, hey, if you know of any Montessori schools, we'd love to get connected with them, making sure that the folks that are doing this work are doing it with not only fidelity, but also with the spirit of having a community-focused school. And I'd also like to say that in the case of what I say to funders, it is really focused on if we want to demonstrate that charter schools are a viable option for families, we have to make sure that we are supporting the ones that reflect the communities that they want to serve. I, time and time again, have those conversations, not only from the seat that I sit in now, having worked for a large network and been an authorizer, just thinking about what does it look like to make sure that the incubation that they receive has that extra layer of understanding of the community that's available to them. So oftentimes I'll have folks like the DC Alliance or the authorizer here have me talk to budding school leaders and talk to and have regular engagement with existing leaders to talk about where and how they can be helpful.
Last point here, and that is, and I have been very vocal about this here, I believe that if you do good, then you continue to do good, and if you do bad, your ass gotta go. I have said to a room full of white charter folk at the National Charter Alliance National Convention that my greatest problem is that y'all don't call out trash as horrible charter schools that are doing a disservice. The kind of charter schools that are paying leaders $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, and they're only over 500, 1,000, 2,000 students, and how they are basically suffocating, scamming, and cheating these kids out of the money. And so how do you articulate that as well? Because, and I'm very clear, not all traditional schools need to stay open because they are cheating our kids out of education. And if there are horrible charter schools that are right now, they got to go.
I've had that conversation with large operators, had that conversation several years ago when someone in Texas bought a jet, right? So being clear about what it is that we need to say cannot happen. which also goes back to the conversation around authorizing schools. So those authorizing bodies, those folks that are making decisions about who stays open and who closes, it means that they have to have people on those boards that understand the communities, understand what the needs are and what's not being met or what is being met. And so having Black people serve on charter school authorizing boards makes a huge difference in terms of like calling folks to the carpet. I myself have done that multiple times, and especially with larger operators who have not kept promises to community members, of course, students and families, but not stay true to their charter agreement. And so authorizers are the first line of defense for that. I always encourage people, if there's an option and an opportunity for you to serve on a board, please do so, be it the authorizing body or be it a school itself, because the flags go up in the school's board. That board of directors is responsible for any of the issues that happen there. And so making sure that people are prepared to do that effectively so that they can raise the flag and get people connected to organizations that can help them do turnaround. But most importantly, and who holds folks accountable for staying open or having their doors closed is an authorizer. And without having people at the table who understand our communities, authorizing is just, again, something that is white control that we don't see, that we are not able to navigate.
Indeed, indeed. All right. We appreciate it. Thanks a bunch and continue good luck.
Thank you so much. You have a good one.
All right, likewise. All right, folks, let's talk about this program here. We always talk about the money, follow the money. Well, the Trump administration is moving to dismantle a landmark federal program that has supported minority and women-owned businesses for more than 4 decades. This could have major consequences for Black entrepreneurs and the people that work for them. The Department of Justice has filed a proposed settlement to end the $37 billion Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program. It allocates at least 10% of federal transportation funding to firms owned by historically marginalized groups. The move comes after 2 white-owned Indiana construction companies sued the Department of Transportation in 2023, arguing that their DBE program was unconstitutional and amounted to discrimination against non-minority businesses. Now, mind you, 90% of the $700 billion in federal contract goes to white people. And of the minority and women business enterprises, white women get 78% of that. No shock, Donald Trump administration sided with the white plaintiffs, stating that the program's race and gender-based requirements, quote, can no longer pass constitutional scrutiny in light of recent Supreme Court decisions, which is actually bullshit. If a federal judge approves the settlement, the DBE program would be permanently dismantled, putting at risk the livelihoods of 49,000 minority and women-owned businesses that rely on these contracts to grow and compete in the $759 billion transportation sector. Matt, this is why this is bullshit. They are trying to take the Supreme Court decision regarding race and admissions applied to everything. That's bullshit, Matt. The Supreme Court is on record as laying out the parameters of affirmative action in contracting in previous decisions. So this college admissions ruling should have no bearing on the other programs, which the Supreme Court has already established precedent. Now, they can always overturn that precedent, but to say that the college admissions Supreme Court decision now impacts every other is a lie.
Which is exactly why they're framing it this way, to try to extend or modify the law. There's a rule in the federal rules of civil procedure that says you can try to modify existing law in certain circumstances, and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to engraft that upon any issue where there is a racial component to it, or they think there's an affirmative action component to it, and they're trying to take that logic and attack every single thing, a la Edward Bloom, which we know he's doing and others behind that movement are doing. And I have really 3 thoughts on this. The first is, I had a conversation this week. I didn't realize that she had said this, but Nicole Hannah-Jones apparently said something I think very profound that's appropriate here. She said, what you're seeing the language of civil rights obviously being co-opted by white plaintiffs trying to turn things on their head. And that's exactly right, because if you look at this complaint, in this complaint, they cited that, quote, disfavored groups are being disadvantaged by, quote, preferred racial groups. It's crazy that they would frame it that way because they're calling the white people here disfavored. But just like you said, the imbalance is so egregious. I mean, 90% of that $7 billion is going towards white firms, then it stands to reason that is de facto the favored group. So to use that language is to turn it on its head and to try to extend that law. But the other thing about it that's bogus is that the Trump administration is apparently on record in this court filing saying that this was patently unconstitutional. Now, Roland, every day of the week, they file some asinine lawsuit that is patently unconstitutional, or really, he files an executive order that on its face is unconstitutional. We're seeing the courts continue to say they're doing things unconstitutional, and they're talking out the other side of their head this time when they say that this is unconstitutional, and that's why they're ending the program. So there's not only cognitive dissonance, but there is flat out dishonesty because they choose to do things that are unconstitutional when it's ideologically consistent with what they want to do. And otherwise, they're trying to beat the drum the other way. And you cannot have that.
Michael, you remember this bullshit right here? The Platinum Plan. Opportunity. By achieving historic employment levels for Black Americans as well as increasing access to capital for new businesses, Trump has been committed to ensuring all Black Americans can achieve the American dream. Remember, he claimed 3 million new jobs, creating 500,000 new Black-owned businesses, increased access to capital in Black communities by almost $500 billion, blah, 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 blah. All the Black economic empowerment and access to capital. Oh, I'm gonna do all of these things, and this and the other. And oh, look at this here. Oh my goodness, fueling access to capital for Black-owned businesses. Oh, look at this here. He said, make the Minority Business Development Agency permanent. Appoint its leader to the Assistant Secretary of Commerce level. Create a sub-office of African American Affairs and engage with private sector advisors to ensure real-world plans and solutions. Oh, look at this here. Increase the number of Black-owned contracting businesses, financial services entities, and private equity investment funds through regulatory reform and up to $40 billion in government funding alongside traditional private investment. Oh, that was all of the things that he was sitting here touting that he was going to be doing. And boy, look at this right here. He said he was going to seek infrastructure funding that will lead to widespread growth in the annual $500 billion federal contracting opportunities. Look at this here. Grow minority-owned businesses with additional tax cuts to stimulate hiring and investment. We said it then. And then all these Negroes, Ice Cube, he met with the Trump people and y'all dissed Cube. What did I say to Ice Cube? They full of shit, Cube. Don't buy the bullshit, Cube. They lying. We said that. We called it out. And all these little Negroes, and I'm going to talk about some of them, the help. I call them the help. And that's right. I'm talking about you, Michaela Montgomery. I'm talking about you, Sharice Lane. I'm talking about you, Pastor Darrell Scott. I'm talking about David Harris. I'm talking about King Randall. I'm talking about Joseph Pinion. I'm talking about Terrence Williams. All you Simple Simon Negroes who were at the White House Black History Month reception, y'all just skinning and grinning. Y'all just happy to be in the house, thinking y'all doing boots on the ground when they were sitting here tap dancing on your goddamn heads.
Roland, I call that the Fool's Gold Plan. We talked about this on your show, October 2020. That's when I made my first appearance. I've been on your show for 5 years. I call that the Fool's Gold Plan. Donald Trump basically didn't do any of that stuff in his first term in office. Keep in mind, he had 4 years to do all that. He basically did none of that. And he just signed an executive order at the end of March 2025 to kill the Minority Business Development Agency that he promised in the bullshit Platinum Plan that he was going to make permanent. Okay? And when you look at the conversation that we just had with Naomi, you look at that Supreme Court ruling, 2023 Supreme Court ruling that struck down affirmative action in college admissions. They're using this as one of the tools to gut all these programs that were partially beneficial for African Americans. Whether we talk about the $37 billion program, the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise program, okay? And then you saw on the Platinum Plan, he talked about an infrastructure bill. Every other week was infrastructure week in the first Trump administration. He could not get an infrastructure bill passed. But you know who got one pushed through? Biden-Harris, $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill. And this $37 billion is distributed. It's distributed in that $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill. So when you go through, and I encourage all the people that you just named, Google, how have the policies of the Biden-Harris administration helped the Black community? One of the documents that comes up is about a 36-page document that takes you through all these. The fastest growth of Black-owned businesses in the last 30 years happened under the Biden-Harris administration. When you look at the also $10 billion in government contracts, okay, in 2023, $10 billion in government contracts went to African-American owned businesses. Now, even though that was only about 1.7% of all government contracts, that's a record amount. We didn't get that under the Trump administration.
But see, again, their whole deal here, Melinda, is to shut it all down. And I ain't sitting here saying where the fans at. I'm saying where the FBA at, where the B1 at, where all y'all Negroes. Come on, here's what I want to know. Philip Scott, Jason Black, come on. Vicky Dillon, Vicky Dillon, come on. What's the other boy with the little documentaries? I forgot his little name. All y'all, all them Negroes. Your vote ain't gonna do nothing. It ain't gonna do nothing. It ain't gonna achieve nothing. Really? And these are hold up. Where your punk ass at, Boyce Watkins? All y'all ran y'all miles. Y'all was shitting on Kamala, shitting on Biden. Y'all was sitting there, all of y'all nonsense. And we told y'all, voting has an impact. And then y'all run so I love the same Negroes. Yeah, I'm specifically, because see, normally I don't even say nothing about his sorry, trifling ass. But I'm going to go ahead and say it. All this bullshit, Boyce Watkins, after Trump inauguration, we need to focus on Black-owned businesses, building Black-owned businesses, supporting Black-owned businesses. Well, please tell me this. If your ass can't get access to federal contracts and your ass can't get state contracts, then they're going to target county contracts, then they're going to target city contracts and school district contracts. What your ass going to get? Oh, I'm sorry, because when they also shut down DEI, now you can't get corporate. So I just want to know, all of y'all support Black-owned businesses, Negroes who shitted on Harris and saying, damn her, and you, well, I ain't say vote for Trump, but that's what you were saying indirectly. I just want to know, if to shut down this program, forget the contracts. So again, we're seeing loss of contracts in corporate, loss of contracts in federal. Republicans are controlling the red states where Black people are. So what do you think they're going to do next in Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, Tennessee, South Carolina? Republicans control North Carolina legislature. What do you think is going to happen in Arkansas? What do you think? So that's all I'm trying to understand. But we would call shields. We would call kiss up to the Democratic Party. See, all you so-called wannabe fake-ass radicals, super-duper revolutionaries, here's what I want to know. Every Black person can't sell incense. Every Black person can't have a T-shirt business. Every Black person can't sit here. So I just want to know, what businesses do y'all think Black people can actually create? And here's the reality that nobody wants to own up. The United States economy is a $30 trillion economy. Black people do not have enough money to solely fund Black people.
Right.
It's just a fact. If Black spending power is $1.6 trillion, and if we know that most Americans are spending half of their income on housing, boom, 1.6 is now cut to $800 billion. So we ain't got the food, We ain't got the clothes. We ain't got to any of that stuff as well. So the point I'm saying is you cannot grow a black business sector if you're only serving one community. And when you're getting X'd out, and now we're talking engineering firms, architecture firms. Now we're talking about contracts with DOD. Now we're talking about contracts with every federal government agency. Please tell me what's going to happen, but we were shields. We were sitting here, oh, we were on the plantation. Oh, we were sitting here kissing up to Kamala. All this shit has happened, and we ain't even hit the 6-month mark of this white supremacist administration.
Mm-hmm. Well, there are a couple things I want to respond to. First, Michael, I do love that you did point out how Trump did not do anything in those 4 years in regards to the Platinum Plan. And that's also the excuse that people used for Kamala, but they didn't give her the chance when she wasn't even president in the first place. So I do love that you pointed that out. But I think that this is a clear move to obviously block Black people specifically, but also women and minorities from just achieving any form of economic success.
Yeah.
It's just a way to strip away the support that we need to level the playing field, because they don't want us to level the playing field. They want to gaslight us to make it seem like we don't have enough money, we don't have the infrastructure, we don't have the good businesses.
Sustained.
Wait for them to continue to control us. And the reality is that we've had generations of exclusion and discrimination that have kept us from allowing our Black businesses to succeed. And that's exactly why they are getting rid of this help, because they don't want us to surpass them in any way. They don't want us to achieve any form of success.
Do all y'all on the show, do y'all remember? Let me just go ahead and pull this up, because I think a lot of people just seem to forget. So just in case anybody is sitting here saying, you know, I don't know about all that Roland, just go to my iPad. See, if y'all go right now to YouTube and type in Roland Martin defund Black America, you are going to see these are the segments that we did. We've done thus far where I said Trump wants to defund Black America. Oh, I laid it all out. I'm sorry, what is this right here? Oh, this is called White Fear, how the browning of America is making white folks lose their minds. Everything in this book I've been saying since 2009. The book was published in 2022. You can get it on Audible as well. Oh, I'm sorry. What was I saying in this book? They're going to be attacking every single economic program that Black people have been able to participate in. Oh, and let me be real clear. I'm not saying those programs have been amazing, have been great, have been wonderful. My point is they actually exist. Last point I'll make before I go to break, this is also for you Simple Simon some bitches out there who was sitting here talking all this shit, calling all us out. We all saying, well, see, all that stuff, that ain't got down to the brother and the sister in the hood. That's also a lie. Because you know what? When you own a Black-owned business, you're likely going to be employing Black people. That means somebody not only is a VP or a COO, a salesperson, they also might be an assistant or a receptionist. That means that they now have a job and they are also funding other family members. It also means that, well, where else are you going to go? Oh, those same Black-owned businesses are funding Black institutions. Those same Black-owned businesses are creating economic opportunities and funding HBCUs. They are tithing in churches. They are supporting Black organizations. Oh, I'm not talking just about the Divine Nine. I'm not talking just about Alpha and AKA and Delta and Omega and Kappa and all the Divine Nine. I'm not talking just about Prince Hall Mason. I'm not talking just about the Lynx or Jack and Jill or the top ladies of distinction. See, all y'all punk ass, the Black Boulevard. Y'all don't know shit about Black people. Y'all don't know shit about how Black people, how things are funded in the Black community. And the underpinning of the Black middle class and the Black lower class has literally been access to contracts. On top of that, it has been access to jobs in government, federal government, state government, city government, county government, school district government. So what then happens when you begin to whack those particular jobs? What begins to happen when you whack those jobs? Oh, I'm sorry, they start getting laid off. Oh, I'm sorry, What then happens? Their kids now can't go to school. What then happens? They now have to file for unemployment insurance because they don't have a job. And we're seeing that right now. So it's called the downstream effect, the downstream impact of all of these different things. And all y'all simple Simons. Oh, I remember Umar saying that vote ain't gonna get you nothing. Really? Okay. Gotcha. All y'all, all them people y'all listen to, all running their mouths, feeding the algorithm, feeding on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, and y'all sitting there going, see, you a sellout. Say, yeah, you a sellout. You a sellout. And we told y'all asses this was going to happen. We told you exactly what they were going to attack. And here's the worst part. They fucking told you to. They gave your ass a nearly 1,000-page document, and they told you we coming after all your shit. And y'all run the fuck around with your little, talking Black Wall Street, Black Wall Street. Oh, yeah, we need to give back to Black Wall Street. Well, tell me this here. How you gonna build some shit without some contracts? See, y'all, the same simple Simons. Oh, yeah, see, you got $350,000 from the Kamala campaign. And yeah, you got that. It's called advertising. You know who also got advertising? Disney, Comcast, Sinclair. I could go down the damn line. All media companies live on advertising. Oh, I'm sorry, so if I got a media company, I can't get advertising, so I'm supposed to do shit for free, run ads for free? Really? So when Netflix is running ads on a Fox, what? So Fox get to charge them for ads, but I can't charge them for ads? Is that how this works? Oh, I'm sorry. So how did we just buy our new vehicle for $276,000? How do we pay for the insurance for $20,000 a year? Oh, it's coming from advertising contracts. That's just called business. So can we just go ahead and cut to the chase? The real reason that people are talking all this shit, a bunch of them simple Simons, because they actually don't have businesses. They've been talking about opening schools now for a decade. See, I'm going there because see, this is what happens when you listen to people who don't know shit they talking. I saw a video earlier, and a sister did. She just killed me with the video. She said, "Don't y'all notice?" She said, "Very few people go from employee to entrepreneur." She said, "Your ass was never a middle manager. You ain't never seen a P&L statement. You ain't never seen a damn spreadsheet. But now you want to be an entrepreneur because you think a business card says CEO, and now you the boss, and now you running some shit." No, that ain't the case. Oh, I know somebody sitting there saying, "Damn, dog, you on one." Yeah, I'm on one because we told you, dumbasses, what was going to go down. We told you what they were doing. We told you that they were pissed with the advancements of Black America. We told you they did not like 2043 and the estimate saying America's going to be a nation majority people of color. We told y'all that. So that's why they hate the Haitians in Springfield. That's why they can't stand Black and brown immigrants coming into this country, because they like, nah, this our shit. We told y'all what the scene from the movie The Good Shepherd, when Matt Damon said, when Joe Pesci said, we got this and they got this. What y'all got? They said, we got the United States of America. The rest of y'all just visited. But a lot of y'all chose to listen to chaos agents who are grossly ill-informed. And what are they doing? They snatching it all. What did we just tell y'all? They want to permanently get rid of the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program.
Yep.
Do you now understand that you wiped that out? Now, please tell me how you gonna compete for contracts. You do know that under Trump, they rebundle contracts. So as opposed to having $10 million contracts, which you were then able to compete for, they said, no, make that $100 million contract. Now you can't compete. Oh, I'm sorry, where did that unbundling come from? Oh, that was from Maynard Jackson. That's from Atlanta. You know, the city where Black people were getting 0.0012% of all contracts. 1972, he became mayor in 1973. So what he say? Let's unbundle contracts to allow an African American to become a prime contractor. What does that mean? Well, because the rules say, I cover city government, y'all cover county government. I saw how they actually wrote the rules of various proposals. Yes, I actually saw how they were written. And they would say, you cannot bid on a prime contract unless you have been a prime contractor. So therefore, if you are only a subcontractor, you never can bid on a prime contractor. Maynard Jackson in Atlanta, they changed that when they said, okay, we're gonna break the contracts up. You now can, we're gonna call them 10 prime contracts. You now can bid on a prime, and if you bid on a prime and win it one time, you now can compete for prime contracts in the future. But y'all keep listening to the Simple Simons who call us shields, who say we're the Boulevard, who say we talk down to regular ordinary people, and understand they literally have no idea what the hell they're talking about. And they got a lot of y'all fooled listening to them. And y'all just repeat phrases as if, and then you say, oh yeah, y'all are over there talking down to people. Okay, please by all means, tell me what's gonna happen when a $37 billion initiative is wiped out. Where you gonna go? That's why y'all gotta support this show. That's why y'all gotta watch this show. That's why y'all gotta not listen to folk who know what they're talking about. Because I'm telling y'all, and this is real simple. How many of these same shows talking about this very story? I'll wait. And what are they saying? I'll wait. They ain't saying nothing. They feeding you a bunch of bullshit. Now maybe you can subsist on bullshit, go on right ahead. Because for me, last I checked, what you ingest is what you output. So therefore, if you ingest bullshit, you're going to output bullshit. Join our Breen and Funk fan club. We do this every single night. And it's this show and others, because this is about getting real information so you can understand the attacks that are going on, and there is a clear and present danger, and that is a racist asshole who is sitting in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue who is causing massive destruction to not only present-day America, present-day Black America, but they simply want to provide more destruction for the next 50 to 100 years of Black America. We have to be armed with the information to know how to fight it. But if you don't even know how they're attacking you, you don't know how to respond to the attack. Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. Folks, click the Cash App button to continue to contribute. You want to send a check or money order, P.O. Box, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. PayPal, R. Martin Unfiltered, Venmo, RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. When we come back, oh my God, a Black conservative who brought his ass on this show selectively edited the segment to raise money for his school in Georgia is now complaining about a jobs program being cut, and he's now demanding leaders fix it when the person who cut it was Trump, and his ass was happy to see him get elected. Oh, I'm coming back with the CVS receipts for King Rando's ass. I'll be back.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, have you ever had $1 million idea and wondered how to bring it to life? Well, it's all about turning problems into opportunities. On our next Get Wealthy, you'll learn of a woman who identified the overload bag syndrome, and now she's taking that money to the bank through global sales in major department stores.
And I was just struggling with 2 or 3 bags on the train. And I looked around on the train and I said, you know what? There are a lot of women that are carrying two or 3 bags.
That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
Next on The Black Table with me, Greg Carr. We featured the brand new work of Professor Angie Porter, which, simply put, is a revolutionary reframing of the African experience in this country. It's the one legal article everyone, and I mean everyone, should read. Professor Porter and Dr. Blvd Watkins, our legal roundtable team, join us to explore the paper that I guarantee is going to prompt a major aha moment in our culture.
You crystallize it by saying, who are we to other people? Who are African people to others? Governance is our thing. Who are we to each other? The structures we create for ourselves, how we order the universe as African people.
That's next on The Black Table, here on the Black Star Network.
This week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, we're talking all things faith, family, and fatherhood. Men step in and out of our lives in a variety of ways as fathers, uncles, cousins, and different ways in which we enjoy their company and presence, and in other ways when they get on our nerves. This week on our show, we'll be talking about what it means to be a father, how women can support the men in their lives, as well as how do we heal the wounds that we've had from poor conversation, lack of desire, and all of the other ways that we sometimes as women check out and cause our men to feel emasculated. That's all this week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
Mass incarceration, Trump administration is doubling down on criminalization, and how it is profitable.
And there's something really, really perverse about saying that we need to put people in cages in order for other people to have jobs. Like, that is not how our economy should be built.
Only on The Other Side of Change on the Black Star Network.
Hey, this is Motown recording artist Kim. You are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. That boy, he always unfiltered though. I ain't never known him to be filtered. Is there another way to experience Roland Martin than to be unfiltered? Of course he's unfiltered. Would you expect anything less? Watch what happens next.
All right, y'all. So, I was on Instagram a little bit early, and I came across this video. And then I watched this video, and I said, I know I am not seeing what I'm seeing. So I need you to play the video I saw on Instagram. I need you to, y'all don't have the video? I sent you the link to, okay, all right, let me play the video myself. Because y'all, I saw this video, when I say I was hot, when I saw it, I said, I can't believe what I'm seeing. This nonsense that I'm seeing from this person right here, posted on Instagram. And I'm like, I know that is not who I think it is, posting what he just posted. And then I looked at it and I said, oh, that is him. I can't believe he posted that video. So let me go ahead and show y'all this, because I want y'all gonna trip. Y'all gonna trip. Watch this video.
Is closing here in the city of Albany, and that leaves us with a little over 500 students that were here on this campus, and 19% of those students are labeled as homeless. We have a little over 250 jobs that'll be leaving the city of Albany. And while this is not the city of Albany government's fault, this is a time for our local and state leadership to step up, because we'd be stupid to act powerless in this situation. Because while this school is still here, while this building is still here, while this campus is still here, what could this become? Could this become a Southwest Georgia regional hub for trade skills training? Could this become something major that the city brings on to start training workforce? Because if we're training workforce, then we can invite industry to come here. But if we don't have any workforce for industry, they'll never come. But if Doherty County School System could train workforce in adults, why can't the city of Albany do the same thing? So my question to leadership is, are we going to allow this opportunity now to pass us by, or are we going to lead? Are our leaders going to lead? And if they don't want to lead, they need to step aside and let somebody else do it.
Oh, he said that if our leaders are not going to lead, they should step aside and let somebody else do it. That's interesting. Now, when I saw it, I remember when he came on this show after he was going at me on Twitter when he was supporting the Republicans in Georgia voter suppression bill, and he was talking shit with another black conservative. Then they said, well, he ain't gonna never put us on the show, and I invited his ass on the show. Then he tried to change his tune when he came on the show. Roll it. Joining us right now is King Randall One, founder of the X for Boys organization based out of Georgia. So, King, explain why in the world you're conservative, correct?
Yes, sir.
So, please explain to me why this bill, why Republicans are pushing for a voter suppression bill when last year we saw record turnout in Georgia, record turnout. So, why would they want to restrict voting when you just had record turnout in Georgia?
Well, let me start off by saying you had me mistaken. I'm not a Republican. I do consider myself conservative.
No. Actually, I didn't say Republican. I said you're conservative.
Okay.
I said you're conservative.
Right, absolutely.
That's what I said.
Right. Yeah, I was saying that because you called me a Republican on Twitter. However, with this particular bill, I don't consider voting my particular fight. I do consider voting an asset to us and maybe something we can use as a tactic to help. But as far as us pushing voting all the way out, like voting is going to be some systemic change for the black community, to me is not the way to go. If you look at the human anatomy of the body has its many different parts. And I do respect you guys' fight, in regards to voting, but I don't consider myself fighting for the right to vote that much. Because
do you not vote?
We hadn't got anything.
Do you not vote?
Government. Yes, sir, I vote, absolutely.
Okay, so when you say you guys' fight, first of all, there are multiple fights, there are multiple issues we can be concerned about. Voting is one of those issues. Are you not concerned that Republicans in your state are trying to restrict access to the ballot for no reason other than they are pushing the lie that Donald Trump also pushed?
Right, absolutely. I understand exactly what you're saying. However, again, that's not my fight. I believe.
No. I asked you a question. And the question is this here. Do you believe Republicans in your state are wrong to be pushing this voter suppression bill?
Can you give me the list of things that's all on the bill? Because I know you said the voter ID.
Well, no, here's a perfect example. This particular bill, what was funny is he was defending the voter suppression bill on Twitter, but he didn't think I was going to invite him on the show. So let me tell you what he did. He then posts that video. He edits it. He edits the video. And then, I'm building this school. Black man should be helping me build my school. And in the same Simple Simon Negroes I called out earlier, they were all like, that's right, Roland Martin, that's a shame. You should be ashamed of yourself. You should be supporting this brother at his school. Oh, that's right. Them Negroes were sitting here sending him money. And then what he did is he got on Fox News and Lawrence Jones had him on. Then the white conservatives jumped on him. And so he starts raising money. And so anytime he's mentioned me on Twitter, it was all about raising money. They were after me for 2 years. I was dissing this brother and all sort of stuff along those lines. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And so here you now have King Randall now complaining about a program, jobs being cut, and how that's hurting young folks. And that's interesting because the program that he's speaking about, that very specific program in Albany, Georgia, he's talking about, go to my iPad. This is the story right here. U.S. Department of Labor pauses Job Corps Center operations. So the very program that he is complaining about has been stopped by the Trump Department of Justice. Now, here's what I don't understand. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and play this again. Because, see, I love it when somebody calls out leaders, but they don't really call out the specific leaders who they talking about. So let me just go ahead and play it again, what he had to say, because he was just so incensed that this program was being cut because it was vital to providing jobs for young people. Listen again.
Let's do it. Center Job Corps is closing here in the city of Albany, and that leaves us with a little over 500 students that were here on this campus, and 19% of those students are labeled as homeless. We have a little over 250 jobs that'll be leaving the city of Albany. And while this is not the city of Albany government's fault, this is a time for our local and state leadership to step up, because we'd be stupid.
Hold up. He said it's not the city of Albany's fault, and we will be stupid not to step up and lead. Listen.
It's fault. This is a time for our local and state leadership to step up, because we'd be stupid to act powerless in this situation. Because while this school is still here, while this building is still here, while this campus is still here, what could this become? Could this become a Southwest Georgia regional hub for trade skills training? Could this become something major that the city brings on to start training workforce? Because if we're training workforce, then we can invite industry to come here. But if we don't have any workforce for industry, they'll never come. And if Doherty County school system could train workforce in adults, why can't the city of Albany do the same thing? So my question to leadership is, are we going to allow this opportunity now to pass us by, or are we going to lead? Are our leaders going to lead? And if they don't want to lead, they need to step aside and let somebody else do it. Turner Job Corps is closing here in the city of Albany, and that leaves us with a little over 500 students that were here on this campus. And
here we are. He's complaining about losing the jobs. Okay, that's interesting. And then he says, this ain't city and state leaders' fault, which means that it's somebody else's fault. So, King Randall, whose fault is it? Whose fault is it? Who's over that particular program? Who controlled the funding? Who made the decision to shut that particular program down? I would like to know that. So I remember seeing a particular photo on social media. And I remember, and I knew, I said, wait a minute. I remember seeing somebody at the White House Christmas party. Go to my iPad. I'm sorry, is that King Randall? It says new emerging king. Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe y'all say, well, you know, that's just a photo. Well, there was another black conservative who posted a video. Can y'all roll that video, please?
This is the White House to celebrate Black History Month, despite the media alleging that it was canceled by President Trump. But like always, fake news. I landed safely thanks to Delta Airlines and time to take a quick shower before throwing on my Sunday's best. Here I'm rocking my Palazzo sports jacket with a black turtleneck and a black Bailey fedora. Soon after this, I ran into my Blexit family on the way to the White House, but I must give a shout out to the guy that made it all happen, Pierre Wilson. He is the real deal, but with moves like this, he's clearly not like us. We were all smiles, waiting in line in this 20-degree weather to get inside to celebrate this momentous occasion because of what it meant to all of us. All I can think about in my head right here is how much I've overcame throughout the years, being open with my conservatism. For some reason, it brings out the worst in people, and I think it's because I refuse to live up to their expectations of me. While I was in the White House, I wasn't quite sure how much I could record, but the security guard reassured me that we had free reign to capture whatever we wanted, so I took full advantage. While I was in the restroom, though, I noticed these napkins with the presidential seal on them, and it almost felt disrespectful to use it and toss it straight into the trash can. They rolled out the red carpet for everyone. We were dressed to the nine, looking good, smelling good, eating good, drinking good, and sounding good. See, the Marine band that was in charge of the music understood the assignment. They were playing everything from Earth, Wind, and Fire all the way down to Sam Cooke, making this a magical time. Everything opened up by a classical version of America the Beautiful, set in the atmosphere. And it was great to be surrounded by so many of my favorite people: Michaela Montgomery, David Harris Jr., Terrence K. Williams.
Go back. Who do y'all see right there on the left? That looked like King Randall. So let me get this straight. King Randall complains about a federal program getting cut that's taking jobs away in his town of Albany, Georgia. He's a self-identified conservative. Don't call me Republican. Okay, fine. But you're standing there smiling and cheesing with the MAGA Negroes, the help. You're at the White House. You supporting Trump, but now you mad and you want local and state officials to fix the problem that Trump created. And in your Instagram video, your ass didn't even mention the word federal. You didn't even say Trump. You didn't even say MAGA. You didn't even say Doge. Now you want folks to step up and fix the problem. What I've been telling y'all? I've been telling y'all the help. That's the black people who are standing with Donald Trump. They claim all black people, y'all on the plantation, y'all on the plantation, Trump is going to be helping us out. And Donald Trump has consistently had policies that have negatively impacted people, and these simple Simon Negroes ain't said nothing. Daryl Scott ain't said nothing. Sharice Lane ain't said nothing. Michaela ain't said nothing. Angela Stanton King ain't said nothing. We can go. Joseph Pinion ain't said nothing. Terrence Williams ain't said nothing. David Harris Jr. ain't said nothing. Byron Donalds ain't said nothing. Tim Scott ain't said nothing. Wesley Hunt ain't said nothing. Burgess Owens ain't said nothing. I can go down the line. But now y'all complaining. Trump has sat here and got rid of the settlement to impact the sewage backing up in the yards and the homes of black people in Lowndes County, Alabama. Said nothing. Said nothing about canceling the lawsuit against the petrochemical companies in Cancer Alley in Louisiana, where black people are dying because of that. The help ain't said nothing. So now you want us. Now you want to call on folks to stand up and fix the program. Come on, King Randall. You're supposed to be big and bold. You're supposed to be a big man on campus. Why is it you won't even say Donald Trump? You won't even say MAGA. You know why? Because y'all scared of your daddy. Because y'all scared he not going to invite y'all back to the White House. And see, y'all love talking about, but y'all won't say nothing. Oh, trust me, I lit Obama up on several different things. I did the same thing with Biden. See, I believe in accountability. I don't just sit here and say one thing, but see, they real quiet. All this stuff that's negatively impacted black people, all of them are quiet. They ain't saying nothing. Not a word. So come on, Randall. I dare you, Randall. I dare you to call your boy Lawrence B. Jones at Fox News, who's now on the morning couch, and say, Lawrence, can I please come on to make a personal appeal to Trump to restore the programming for this, the funding for this program so we don't lose these jobs? I don't think that's going to happen, because you know why? Because, see, Lawrence B. Jones ain't trying to be on the bad side of Donald Trump, because they all trying to kiss that orange MAGA ass. So isn't it interesting that you come on my show, you talk shit on Twitter, you didn't think I was going to invite you, then you did a bait and switch where you came on my show, then you used my show to raise money for your school, but now you complain about job losses of young people in your town, and it's Trump's fault and you ain't saying a word. Ain't that interesting? I guess that's how it goes these days, Michaela. The help is quiet when it's time to speak up.
I mean, that's why I wonder why.
Melinda, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. You were going off about Michaela. You're living rent-free in your head. You're upset. I get it. But no, I just think it's funny that people like us are apparently on the plantation, but we're not afraid to actually criticize our party or people that we vote for, but they will not say anything about Trump when it is explicitly his fault. I just looked it up. It's the Department of Labor, and it's about his budget. That's why they cut the Job Corps program. So it is directly a result of him voting for Trump, and he doesn't want to have to reconcile with the fact that he was a part of the problem that made this happen.
No, Michael.
Well, Roland, we tried to tell him, and how many times have I talked about this document on your show before? Okay, this deals with the policies of the Biden-Harris administration that help black people. The Biden-Harris administration advances equity, opportunity for black Americans and communities across the country. Okay, this documents that. And right now, Donald Trump is wiping out the advancement that African Americans have made going back to the 1960s. On day one, he revoked Executive Order 11246, which was affirmative action. On day one, he revoked Executive Order 11985, which Biden signed on his first day in office, which put in motion all this that happened because that executive order dealt with equity and that immensely helped African Americans. So yes, it's good to have an independent school. We've been doing that for decades, independent schools, but we have to understand how politics impacts every aspect of your life, and your understanding of politics is directly related to your understanding of history. So there's a lot of people talking about politics that don't understand history.
Matt?
I don't have anything profound to add, but all I'll say is that I think it's a missed opportunity because you think, if you look at this from a nuanced perspective, I mean, this is an opportunity, right, for local people to, invest in this lost job program. But the issue with that is you don't have credibility if you don't call out why the job program was lost, which is your point. And that's the issue that I see here. I mean, it looks like this brother theoretically is trying to do something good in his community, but you lose credibility when you don't say why it's no longer there and why your desire to have proximity to power is more important than the actual things you claim to stand for, which is, having jobs in the community. You should be able to say this is gone because of a Trump policy, the same way you would surely say if that program was lost under Mr. Biden's administration, that this is no longer here because the Biden administration took it away from you. Unless you're willing to call a spade, you aren't credible. And I don't see why you wouldn't do that here. But I understand you got to kiss the ring. And that's what we're seeing conservatives of all colors do. They're all afraid to call out Trump. They're all afraid to call out his insanity because they want to keep that proximity to power.
And that's why y'all need to go ahead. Y'all got our T-shirt. That's why y'all need to get our new shirt. Hashtag we tried to tell you. FAFO 2025. That's why we got that shirt right there, because probably 2025, a bunch of y'all fucking around and y'all finding out real quick. All right. Somebody in the chat room said, damn, Ro, you on one today. Yes, I am. So let me go ahead and go to the third thing that pissed me off. So on Monday, I came home. Did I play golf? I played golf on Monday, I think. So I came home, and my wife was watching this docuseries on the History Channel, and it was called The Frontiers Men Who Built America. So they have a series of these documentaries, The Men Who Built America. They have The Food That Built America. This is a whole series. And so when I saw this, I saw that one of the executive producers was Leonardo DiCaprio. And so I sit down and I happened to walk in as they were talking about how Davy Crockett and Andrew Jackson were at odds and how Davy Crockett lost his bid for Congress. And then they were talking about how that was a play on Davy Crockett, and then how Davy Crockett then moved to Texas and he was walking into a war raging in Texas. Roll this.
As Crockett begins to settle in, he realizes Texas is on the verge of rebellion. After years of loose governance, Mexican President Santa Anna suddenly imposes new restrictions on settlers. Now, angry Texans...
Santa Anna, he imposes new restrictions on settlers. Now, if you're watching, you will go, I'm curious, what are those new restrictions? They never say. Press play.
...are calling for revolution.
Texas was on the verge of independence, that the Texians...
He says, Texas were on the verge of independence. Okay, go ahead, roll it. Go ahead, roll it.
As they were called, were going to try to become independent from Mexico, and there would be possibility as land and political opportunity.
In response, Santa Anna sends 500 troops to confiscate weapons and quell unrest. When Texans refuse to give in, he makes plans to retaliate.
Santa Anna is training an army in San Luis Potosí to march against Texas. Santa Anna did not think that this was a local insurgency. He was absolutely convinced the United States was involved. And so that's why the Mexican government was so determined to put down this revolt.
Crockett arrives in Texas at the same time as news of Santa Anna's counterattack.
When Crockett had gone to Texas was really just meant to be an extended hunting expedition and land scout, and he bumbles right into a war for independence.
He stumbles into a war for independence. And I'm just sitting here going, what are they trying to be independent about? Press play.
number of things happened along the way. One was the appearance of Halley's Comet. And when Halley's Comet appeared in the sky in 1836, some people thought that it meant that David Crockett was coming to Texas to fight for independence.
Here we go again with that independence. And so the docuseries kept going on. And then they went to episode 4. And then I'm watching it. They talk about the Alamo. And they talk about independence, 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 independence. Then they go to the Battle of San Jacinto. Then they talk about what happened there. Roland.
Suffer just 11 casualties. The crushing defeat leads to Mexico's surrender. And Texas finally wins independence.
Here we go right there. Texas finally wins independence. What in the hell is Texas trying to be independent for? I still haven't answered. Roll it.
Back in Washington, D.C., Jackson welcomes the news. He's dreamed of Texas joining the U.S. for years, but the future of Texas is caught in the growing debate over slavery.
Congress wasn't willing to go along with annexation because Texas would enter the Union with slavery. And the—
Oh my God! We finally hear the word slavery. Press play.
The addition of Texas would tip the balance in the Senate in favor of the pro-slavery side. The result of this was that Texas remained in this limbo for almost a decade.
See, the problem is, I think I know what the problem is. See, the problem is, I am the reason them plantation owners couldn't stand reading Negroes. I think that's the real problem. The real problem is I'm one of them Negroes who can read. And so I'm sitting here watching this docuseries, and I'm cussing the whole time because I have this. I have this book. And I've discussed this book on my show. I had an interview with the author. Actually, I got 2 copies of this book. And I'm watching, and I'm like, Leonardo DiCaprio, you really want your name on some lying shit, fake ass stuff? Dr. Gerald Horn joins me right now, professor at the University of Houston, and the title of this book is called Counter-Revolution of 1836, Texas Slavery in Jim Crow and the Roots of U.S. Fascism. Book came about during COVID. It is a fascinating book. And I need y'all to understand something. Y'all see how thick this book is? I want y'all to see how thick this book is. I am a native Texan, born and raised in Houston, and every Texan is required to take 7th grade history. And that book is thicker than this book right here. And everything in this book was never in one of those history books I read growing up. Gerald, it pissed me off watching this series to listen to them go, independence, independence, independence. And not one time, Gerald, did they ever say what the hell they were trying to get away from Mexico for.
Well, this is Trumpian history, to put it mildly. As you know more than most, when Texas seceded from Mexico and declared independence in 1836, a central reason was that Mexico, under a president of African descent, speaking of Vicente Guerrero, had moved to abolish slavery. Right. And the slave owners in Texas, including those who led the revolt, and speaking of Sam Houston, Stephen F. Austin et al., rather than acquiesce to slavery, they decided to start an independent country, the Republic of Texas, which, interestingly enough, after it came into independence, began to challenge the United States for leading the African slave trade. The Lone Star flag of Texas could be found off the coast of Angola in Southwest Africa, off the coast of Brazil, the major market off the coast of Cuba. Of course, if you look at your map, you'll see there's a straight shot from Galveston, Texas, the major slave trading port, to Cuba. And so that is what Mr. DiCaprio and his comrades neglected to note.
And Gerald, you lay out in the book, the reason they hated Mexico so much, because there was literally another country that was an abolitionist country bordering the fledgling United States of America.
Well, more than that, when Mexico comes into independence, it also allies with revolutionary Haiti. Abolitionist Haiti, as you know, came into independence as the first Black republic in 1804 and instantaneously began to put pressure on the slave trading powers, including the United States. And then when Texas seceded from Mexico, Haiti had reason to then put pressure on Texas in league with Mexico. And that too outraged the enslavers of Texas because they thought this was mighty audacious for the Black rulers of Mexico and Haiti to be aligning. And then, of course, they were plotting, speaking of Mexico and Haiti, to invade Spanish-ruled Cuba and liberate the Africans there from enslavement. So they thought that the Mexicans and the Haitians had gotten too big for their britches, and that led to the secession from Mexico by Stephen F. Austin and Sam Houston and the so-called Texians.
I am not one who believes that you or I have to be in every document, in every sort of thing. But I just found it interesting, Gerald, watching this, and I've seen many of these, and I'm like, wow, all of these historians you talk to, and none of them are Black, and you're having all of these people sharing their thoughts about Texas independence, and nobody utters slavery.
Well, it's even worse because, as you know, the 2020 census showed that Texas has the largest Black population in the United States of America. And in fact, the Texas Black population has been in the vanguard of struggle, as you know more than most, for decades. And so it's a slap in the face of Roland Martin and other Black Houstonians to put this kind of tripe and trash on the airwaves.
And it also has to be, and you're used to it, being a historian, it also has to be offensive that the History Channel, which really should be called the His Story Channel, is presenting these docuseries and offering them up as and this is for the generation of people that don't read, offering this up as somehow, no, this is the stuff you don't know about. So people watch this and they walk away from this and go, I never knew those things. So now what they are doing, which you talk about being Trumpian, they can't stand folks like you because really let's keep telling that white his story and keep advancing that. Douglas Blackman, Pulitzer Prize-winning author, a white journalist out of Atlanta. Douglas is a great guy. He was responding to my post because I put it on LinkedIn, which led to us booking you. He said, I haven't seen this series, but Roland Martin's anger and exasperation is dead on about how pop history and pop culture continue to, quote, teach millions of people versions of our history that are simply false, factually wrong, fabricated, empirically disproven. The most nauseating part is how these fictions and perversions of truth are now so often presented with the tools and forms of documentary film and published works that, quote, look authoritative and are effectively endorsed by legitimate networks and publishers we once might have trusted.
Well, as you know, it's wholly consistent with the White House's attack on DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, which is shorthand for attack on affirmative action, which is shorthand further for purging Black people from the historical landscape. It's consistent with the attempts to smother the Smithsonian's National African American Museum in Washington, D.C. It's consistent with what's being debated at the state legislature in Austin as we speak. so-called SB 37, which if it comes into law, will lead to a routing of African American studies departments, Black studies departments, Africana studies departments. They're attempting to poison the minds of our youth to make them enlist willingly in the Trump crusade against Black people.
And again, what happens with these networks, again, for the people who are not going to read your 400 or 500 pages, it's like, oh, I can sit here and I can now just get all of this stuff in one nice place, prepackaged, looks great, tells us, sounds convincing. And what it is it is promoting a flat out lie. It is not being fully accurate. It is what this series is doing. It is portraying these white men, these frontiersmen, the ones who were rugged, who were fighting these savages, those Indians, who were just trying to get a land, and they were just trying to live the American dream. Never use the word stolen, never use the word genocide as you properly use when you describe, even in your introduction, that it was genocide that was being committed against Native Americans.
Indeed. I've studied United States history from the Atlantic to the Pacific. And I must say that when you look at the history of Texas, what leaps out at you is the fighting spirit and the militancy of the indigenous, particularly the Comanches. And what's remarkable is that approximately 200 years ago, they were ruling Texas. And today, it's difficult to find one person in Texas of Comanche descent. You would think that some might pose the question, what happened to the Comanches? What happened to the Apaches? What happened to these Native Americans who were ruling the plains not so long ago and now cannot be found?
When I look at this here, when I look at, and let me pull this up because I'm going to go questions with my panel, so panel, y'all get ready. I am on imdb.com right now, and it lists the stars of the documentary. It lists all of the people involved, the writers, and I'm just sorry. I believe in naming and claiming it. John Ealer is a director. Johnny St. Hours is a director. The writers, Brian Burstein, Zachary Herman, Jeremiah Murphy, Jordan Rosenblum, Peter Sherman, Stephen David, Tim W. Kelly, Yoshi Stone, Adam Jones Siegler for dialogue. They're listed as the writers, and you see the cast here. My wife made this observation. She says, my God, I'm watching this thing and I don't see nobody Black in this docuseries at all. Oh, that was, there's one brother who played Pompey. But this is what I think is important also, Gerald. These are the producers of this trash, of this factually incorrect and wrong stuff. Petra Hobel, Thaddeus Busca, Chelsea Coates, Mary Donahue, Sam Epstein, Carter Figueroa, Ronald Freed, Tim W. Kelly, Nick Gutler, Brian Meir, Paul Kleinman, Brian Burstein, Liz DeFore, Nikki Macron, Michael Hampton, Jonathan Soule, Yoshi Stone, Philip Watson, Christian Burns, Stephen David, Jennifer Davidson, Leonardo DiCaprio, Russell McCarroll. Those are executive producers. Now, again, some of these folks participated in some of this series from, you see, 2017, 2018. These are cinematographers. These are editors. This is casting. This is production designer, art director, costume designer, makeup, production manager, everything that goes along with it. The reason all of this is important, Gerald, is because these are the people who are responsible for producing the docuseries, and the History Channel has an obligation that before you air some crap like this, that it needs to be factually correct. And we see documentaries on PBS where they will say, oh, no, these things need to be corrected before we put this on the air. The problem that I have is when you air this kind of crap, folk run with it and go, I saw it on the History Channel. It must be true.
Huh. Well, maybe that's part of the problem, because obviously the History Channel is pumping out propaganda. And we should also ask ourselves, who are the major stockholders in the History Channel? who are the puppeteers, for example? You cited Mr. DiCaprio, but of course, he is getting a paycheck from someone higher on the food chain. And I think that it's highly appropriate for you to call these people out, just like I think it's even more appropriate for your audience to begin to ask these searching questions as to how this sort of propaganda, which ultimately is an expression of anti-Blackness, how it manages to worm its way into our living room.
Well, the people who own it is A&E. Who owns A&E, go back to my iPad, is the Hearst Corporation. And A&E Global Media also is a joint venture of Hearst and the Walt Disney Company. So A&E falls under, the A&E Global Media falls under, the ownership is Hearst and the Walt Disney Company. And so the History Channel is one of the networks that fall underneath that. So the questions that we should be asking specifically, I say, definitely are to the producers and the writers and the researchers, because they're doing the docuseries. Then it is airing on the History Channel. So who are the execs in charge of that particular show? And now you go to the owners of the History Channel, which is A&E Global, and that is the Hearst Corporation and the Walt Disney Company. Questions from the panel. I'll start with Michael first.
Hey, Gerald, good to see you again.
Right on.
All right. When we deal with this history, and I teach about Texas independence also, when we talk about the Texas Rangers starting about 1835, 1836, part of their duty was also capturing runaway slaves as well, okay? Can you talk some about that history also? And we know, I'm glad you mentioned Vicente Guerrero, the second president of Mexico, who was Afro-Latino, former slave, because he abolished slavery in Mexico in 1829.
Well, it's interesting. The Texas Rangers, in many ways, were state-sponsored death squads. Not only were they capturing
domestic terrorists.
Exactly. They were hell on the indigenous population.
Yes.
And keep in mind as well that one of the reasons that the United States itself waged war against Mexico a few years later in 1846, walking away with California, which now bills itself as the fourth largest economy on planet Earth, is because Mexico refused to return runaway Africans who had crossed the border into Mexico, leading to major capital loss on the part of Texas enslavers. It's oftentimes discussed in this country about following the North Star to freedom, which is highly appropriate. That is to say, the Africans escaping north to Canada, but thousands of Africans were escaping south into Mexico.
Correct.
It leads to the war against Mexico, which leads to the denuding of a good deal of Mexican territory.
Yeah.
Let's go to Matt Manning, because he's out of Corpus Christi. Matt?
So, Dr. Horn, I'm a lifelong Texan. I took that Texas history class a lot more recently than Roland, because I'm not as long in the tooth. But
guess what? It's the same damn book. That shit ain't changed. Your ass had the same thick ass book.
I'm sure Miss Swafford got that book from you when she taught it to me much more recently than you learned it. And I was shaking my head because Michael literally stole the question I was going to ask. But to just add some contour, I was going to ask Dr. Horn if you'd shed some light on how much what you've seen in terms of, your historical review, how much of that, reticence to return the capital loss was discussed at the time, because obviously I never learned that in Texas history, but clearly that was one of the major impetus behind, their seeking to break away. So how much of that was actually being discussed in documents at the time, if you know?
Well, the newspapers were full of these sorts of stories. Keep in mind as well that these so-called Texians were not above crossing the border into Mexico and snatching dark-skinned people who they thought could pass for an enslaved African, driving them kicking and screaming across the border to work as an enslaved person. This person might not have been a runaway. It might have been an Afro-Mexican, for example. So the Texians raised hell in Mexico, which is one of the reasons, if you talk to Mexicans today, at least those that are intelligent, they have a very negative evaluation of Texas generally and the United States more broadly.
Wanda.
So I just want to talk a little bit actually about the production of the docuseries. As someone who has worked in the entertainment industry for years, I think the unfortunate part about this is that when you distribute a docuseries like this and you have certain names attached, there is a level of trust when it comes to distributing it. So having the name Leonardo DiCaprio attached to something like this, people may not unfortunately watch it ahead of time to fact check it. And that's just as you said, you know, Roland, with Black-led charter schools earlier in the program, there needs to be more of a push for Black-led produced history productions. So on that note, because we're such a media-driven society, I'm just wondering if you have any docuseries that you know of that are Black produced and researched that have been distributed that you would recommend for people to watch.
Well, it just escaped me, but there is a joint Canadian Broadcasting, South African Broadcasting series on slavery in the United States. If you put those terms into a search engine, will probably emerge. And it presents a view of the United States, and indeed a view of 1776, that is altogether different from the kind of poppycock and balderdash and propaganda we're being fed and will be fed in bountiful amounts coming in the run-up to 2026, the 250th anniversary of the birthday of the United States of America. I should also mention that the Hearst Corporation, which is at the top of the food chain in terms of this docuseries, also controls the Houston Chronicle, the major daily newspaper in this sizable city.
And in fact, the Houston Chronicle is actually the largest newspaper in the Southwest United States.
Exactly. And so what that says to me is that they have less of an excuse to put out falsehoods because they're cited, or at least they have an organ, they have an arm of the corporation right there in the Lone Star State, right there in the state of Texas, in the city of Houston. I read the Houston Chronicle on a regular basis. And I know some of these people who are administering that newspaper, so they really have no excuse for making this sort of production.
Is this what you're referring to, Gerald? I'm on the CBC's Canadian broadcast. This series called Enslaved?
That's one, and there's another one too, starring the woman, if you can put this into the search.
I will.
The Williams sister's mother in that Will Smith vehicle.
Angelou Ellis.
Exactly. She's in this CBC South African Broadcasting production. I show it to my class.
You mean, that actually aired on, you mean the Book of Negroes?
There it is.
Yeah, that actually aired on BET. BET actually aired that. It's called the Book of Negroes.
Yes.
Yes.
I recommend it highly. It's an eye-opener. And once again, it's not financed by U.S. entities. It's financed by the Canadians and the South Africans.
Yeah, that actually, what you're talking about aired in 2014. Pull the audio up, please. This is the trailer that Gerald is talking about.
You gotta let go of that Africa thing. This your home now. We's all you got.
Coming to CBC.
We are not in the promised land. Not yet.
I am Aminata Diallo. I seem to have trouble dying. By all accounts, I should not have lived this long. I have been across the big river, and now I am back.
The Book of Negroes begins Wednesday, January 7th on CBC.
That's what that is. And so I really, Gerald, I was just so irked when I saw that and knowing the true history and knowing that people will watch this and they will think that these people, it would just land, and those horrible Mexicans wouldn't just leave those Western settlers alone, and Davy Crockett and Sam Houston, they all were coming there because they were looking for a better life, leaving the places. No, they were pissed off that Mexico said, we're not going to allow you to continue having slavery in the Texas territory. That's what pissed them off. And they said, nope, they about to jack up the economy. That's the only economy that we have, and we're gonna fight. And that's what the Alamo was about. That's what all that crap was about.
And that's what Sandra Bland was about. Recall that a few years ago in Prairie View, Texas, this Black woman wound up dead as a result of an unfortunate encounter with the authorities in that suburb, if you like, of Houston, Texas. George Floyd, not coincidentally, also has roots in the Lone Star State as well.
Yeah, with the same high school I did, Jack Yates High School.
Exactly. And so you cannot separate the kind of misinformation and disinformation that's pumped out through the airwaves that presents a profound representation of anti-Blackness for the kinds of unfortunate slayings and murders that take place all too routinely, inflicted against Black people with roots in the Lone Star State.
And this is one of the reasons why. And again, what happens when you know your history, when you know those things, and people sort of get mad at you. I did this, and a lot of people, Gerald, were not happy with me, but ain't like I gave a damn. When Rick Perry was the governor of Texas, he felt that when Texas A&M joined the Southeastern Conference, that there needed to be something, some trophy or something that was awarded to whoever won the annual game between Texas A&M and the University of South Carolina. So then they settled upon something called the Bonham Trophy. And so this says, few have ever heard of this. And so this is the trophy right here. And you see the Bonham Trophy. Well, a couple of years ago, I was watching the game, and it was on ESPN. They were talking about, hey, where's this trophy? Who had it? Who has it? Where can we find it? Didn't quite understand it. And so, again, when you don't know history, the Bonham Trophy is named and modeled after Alamo battle hero James Bonham. He was from South Carolina, traveled to Texas to fight with the Texians at the Alamo, and so they wanted to talk about it. And really, it got lost. Folks didn't know where in the hell the trophy was and all of that. And I actually did a video early on this, and I said to any Texas A&M player and South Carolina player, especially if you Black, if your ass holds this trophy up, you are holding up a Confederate monument, because anybody who was fighting at the Alamo against Santa Anna's troops, those people were fighting to continue slavery in Texas.
Well, as you know more than most, in Houston in particular, there's still a number of streets named after Confederate heroes. It was not so long ago that the street that's now called Emancipation Avenue near the University of Houston was named after a blood-stained Confederate. And of course, he has not been alone in that ill-fated regard. And so we have a lot of work to do, and I congratulate you for bringing this trashy docuseries to a wider attention of our audience.
We, of course, in a couple of weeks are going to have Juneteenth. And before I let you go, I really just want you, and I shared this with, I was talking to Governor Westmore, and we were talking about Juneteenth, the celebration there. And I said to him, Governor, please do me a favor. I need you and others to make perfectly clear that Juneteenth was not a day of picnics. It was not a day of celebration. It wasn't a day of barbecues and cookouts. That for Black people in Texas, where Juneteenth was founded, it was about freedom. It was the pursuit of economic freedom. It was pursuit of the right to vote, civil rights. I said, what we cannot do is allow that Juneteenth is a national holiday, and it is the only day that actually recognizes and tied to slavery. We cannot allow this to be bastardized and prostituted and turned into a day of partying and line dancing. There has to be a freedom component that tied with it.
Well, more than that, we also need accuracy with regard to Juneteenth. That is to say, the traditional story of the men in blue showing up in Galveston and alerting these enslaved Africans to the reality that supposedly you're free, that's a misrepresentation. First of all, the Emancipation Proclamation, January 1st, 1863, issued by the Lincoln government, did not have any standing in Confederate Texas. Actually, what happens is that the men in blue of the U.S. Army are showing up in Galveston because the enslavers plan to extend slavery back into Mexico. Because recall, Cinco de Mayo, marked on May 5th every year, particularly by our Mexican-American brothers and sisters, the French had taken over Mexico and they were supporting the Confederates. And so the Confederates were going to make a jailbreak into Mexico, dragging, kicking, and screaming enslaved Africans alongside with them so that they could extend the life and legacy of slavery. But what happens with the men in blue showing up in Galveston, they were recruiting these black men as the Confederacy was collapsing, and they managed to join the men in blue, and then they, along with progressive and patriotic Mexicans, helped to strangle the French-based puppet regime. And interestingly enough, the French puppet leader, Maximilian, he was assassinated. He was killed. He was subjected to the death penalty on June 19th, 1867. And that is a further reason to mark Juneteenth, because June 19th, 1867, in many ways has more resonance and more profundity than June 19th, 1865, which is part of the traditional story.
Last thing I want to do is this here, because as you were talking, you mentioned that documentary, the 6-part series out of Canada. I actually had the director of this movie. It came out during COVID, did not get much attention. It was about a group of black soldiers in Houston, Texas during Jim Crow who were sick and tired of sick and tired. It's called the 24th. A lot of people had no idea about this. And it was, folks, if y'all pull it up on YouTube, the interview that we did with the director, it was fascinating conversation about the making of this movie. And so, folks, if you're not aware of this, we're just going to play this trailer, then we're going to close this out.
Men of the 24th Infantry. This is Texas. And we have a great opportunity here. Legacy, if proven worthy, will carry us all the way to the shores of France. Things are a little different down here in the South. I will expect you men to obey the racial code.
Yes, sir.
Get back with the others.
Just go ahead and drive this machine.
Officer Cross.
This is a white man's world. Every man here has got a lit fuse. Jim Crow's the law. Respect it.
What are we gonna do? The police brutalize us, sir. All we want is to be treated as soldiers.
As military police, you are to ensure order of the men of the 24th Infantry only.
Drop the knife.
Back up!
I was robbed of my honor. You get out of here before they take yours too.
The General can get the 24th in the fight.
He's never going to do that.
What do we do, sir?
William, I've done all I can do here.
We have a problem. We're gonna take our country back.
Law run this town.
There's a militia on the way.
Are they?
Which way did they go?
Keep pushing people down. Sooner or later, they rise up.
Can you identify any of the leaders of the mutiny?
When I aimed the gun, I saw a man. He didn't see one back.
That was a black director, black writers, and again, our stories are important. Folks, it's always great to have Gerald. I can say this, I ain't got a problem saying it. I know, Michael, I know you had him on the show, but I think I probably have sold more Gerald Horn books than anybody else. Every time Gerald got a book, he's on the show. He's a prolific writer, an amazing historian, and so I ain't got no problem helping to put coins in Gerald's pockets. Y'all, I'm telling y'all, get this book. Because what Gerald does in here, because it's called the Counter-Revolution of 1836, Texas slavery and Jim Crow and the roots of U.S. fascism. And he connects, he's calling it the Counter-Revolution 1836. He's connecting the American Revolution and the Texas Revolution and the Civil War and how all of these things are combined. And if you also, again, want to understand present day. See, this is why every year when Governor Greg Abbott and Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, they put on the social media, hey, it's Texas Independence Day. And I go, bullshit. This is Texas Continuing Slavery Day. And the reason I call that trophy out, I need black people to stop walking around and unknowingly celebrating Confederate history. And we have been indoctrinated with his story, and that's why that History Channel thing is trash. I have hit somebody in Hollywood who knows DiCaprio. I said, send this to him. I will absolutely send it to the folks at A&E, send it to the folks at Hearst in Disney. Matter of fact, I think Hearst, I think I know a sister who's an executive there, but we can't be silent when this trash is presented that distorts American history, because that's what these people want to do. They don't want Gerald Horne's books in libraries, in schools. They don't want other black authors because they want to continue to perpetuate the lie of American history. Gerald, final word.
Well, once again, I take my hat off to you. I salute Roland Martin, Unfiltered. You're doing a bang-up job. I wish that you would issue an IPO, because I would certainly invest.
Well, that's something that we are, trust me, moving towards. We're just methodically building the network, the shows that we're adding. Y'all, this book is called The Counter-Revolution of 1836. Go ahead and pull up Texas Slavery and Jim Crow and the Roots of U.S. Fascism. Absolutely fascinating history of this country. Dr. Gerald Horne, always great to see you, my brother.
Right on. Good luck to you.
Thank you very much. Let me thank my panel, Melinda. Let me thank Michael. Let me thank Matt. Again, y'all, you ain't getting this on other shows, folks. The mainstream media ain't even talking about this here. And so this is why we need black-owned platforms speaking to our story, speaking to our history, and presenting our stories in a way nobody else is doing so. And so that's why we want you to support what we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. We purposely do not charge a subscription fee. We do not have a Patreon. We have a Substack, but it's free. We're not trying to charge y'all for the content. We want you to be sharing this. We want you posting these clips. We want it widely available because too many of our people don't know. That's the reason why we do the show 5 days a week. I know we went overtime. I know Truth Talks was live at 8 o'clock, but this was so critically important because I need our folk to stop walking around, continue to present the bullshit that they have been feeding us when we truly have a true story. That's one of the reasons why somebody gave this to me. I have no idea who gave this Black Wall Street shirt to me. I have no idea, but it was been in my room for like a year. So I said, hell, I'm gonna wear it today. But this is a perfect example. There wasn't one Black Wall Street. There were numerous Black Wall Streets. And so they were burned down and then rebuilt as well. And so this is an opportunity for us. And we have to accept it. And I need everybody to watch it. What we're doing right now is no different than what Robert Abbott did with the Chicago Defenders. No different than what Frederick Douglass did with the North Stars. No different than what Ida B. Wells Barnett did with her newspaper. That was firebomb. That's why there's no copy of her paper. There's no copy in existence anywhere of her newspaper because it was firebomb. In fact, I can't even, look, you don't even know the name. Just keep the camera right there. The name of her paper is called, and I have it on my wall, it's called the Memphis Free Speech and Headlight. I have a mural in my office that pays homage to Black-owned media, and that's on there. But the reason that name doesn't even roll off our tongue, because we don't even see it. So supporting this show allows us to be able to have the panelists that we have on, allows us to be able to hire staff. We got new interns starting. We got 3. How many we got in there? 3? 2 interns in there. We got 3 starting next week. And creating new opportunities. And so your support is critically important. This is the mural that I'm talking about. You see right there. That's actually in my office that we pay homage to the Black-owned media. My man Keenan did design that, and you've got all of those Black-owned media outlets on that wall. That is for a reason. That's what I look at every single day when I come into the office, because we have to be able to ask Freedom's Journal. We got that mural. You got that, show that too. We got a mural in another office, which is the nation's first black newspaper, Freedom's Journal. This paragraph was in the third paragraph of the front page of Freedom's Journal on March 16th, 1827. And it says, we wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. That is so important. That is so important to us because we are living in a world, we're living in a moment right now where, as that history, that lie of a history documentary shows us what happens when they lie, when they do not speak truth about what is going on in our country. And so we've got to be able to counter that. We got to be able to have the truth. We got to be able to speak the truth. And I was just saying, so I'm just going to show y'all. So go to my phone. So this is that mural that we have in this office. And you see it March 16th, 1827. And that quote is, we wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. And so this is a moment for us to be able to speak. Yep, that's Angela Davis. For us to be able to speak and do our own thing with Black-owned media. Support us via Cash App using the Stripe QR code. You see it right here, Stripe QR code with Cash App. Click the Cash App button to continue to contribute. If you want to make a check or money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. This supports all of the networks for banking purposes, but it supports all the shows on the Black Star Network. And so you can do that. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Send it to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo, RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app. Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Set up a shot of those products on my desk. If you want to also get my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, at bookstores nationwide. This is where you can get it. Also, you can get the audio version that I read on Audible. Folks, we've got Black-owned products on our site called ShopBlackStarNetwork.com. Our marketplace segment, ShopBlackStarNetwork.com. We had Kavan Foods on the other day. They sent their products to us. We appreciate that. You see some of those products right here. And of course, you got the chicken breading, fish breading. You got the honey apple barbecue sauce, sweet potato barbecue sauce, honey apple salsa, gourmet seasoning, honey apple butter. And so, yeah, I'm going to be trying some of that this weekend. And so support the products right there, y'all. And so I can't wait to try some of that. Don't forget to also get our gear. Roland Martin Unfiltered Black Star Network gear. If y'all having issues, some of y'all, I see y'all comments in your emails. If you're having issues with your products, send us an email. Just click contact us at RolandSMartin.com and send us an email, and so we can jump on that. Go to RolandMartin.creator-spring.com. The QR code is there. RolandMartin.creator-spring.com. If you want to listen to our audio, please, YouTube, that's where we generate the most revenue. But watch our stuff there, listen there as well. You can also listen to our podcast. All networks, we send it to the iHeartRadio networks, but it goes to all platforms. Support us there. And lastly, support Fanbase. Download the app. If you want to invest, go to startengine.com/fanbase, that Black-owned social media app. Folks, that's it. Enjoy the weekend. Have an absolutely great time. We always close the show every Friday showing the people who donate to our show, who support our show. And then once we do that, we're going to send y'all the Truth Talks. I'll see y'all on, today's Friday, right? Yes, it is. I'll see y'all on Monday. Holla! Bye.